Hey everyone, it's your boy Daniel Herrera once again. Today I'm back to talk about the most important phrases in the Spanish language. So what we're going to do is we're going to use these common phrases and we're going to use them as our foundation, as our base. The more we use them, the more we familiarize ourselves with these common words, the more confidently we're going to feel when we have to interact with Spanish speakers in real life. When I talk about foundations and basics, I want you to think about a baby. Maybe you can remember when you were a baby, you weren't saying many words. You weren't able to string sentences together yet because you needed to familiarize yourself with the language. You spent a few years getting to know it before you elaborated your first few words. So as adults, I think we've forgotten what it took us to learn our own language. It wasn't easy. It was still a process, but we weren't really overthinking it. We were just enjoying the process. Everybody talks about how kids are really good at learning new languages. It's because they are not so much in their head and they're really good at taking action and just using the language playfully. Even when they're making mistakes, they're not getting caught up in, oh, did I mispronounce something, or are they making fun of me because I said something wrong? Something important as well is so this all leads us to our mindset, how we think of learning a new language. We need to have the right mindset first. We need to know that mistakes are part of the journey, and we're gonna associate mistakes with progress. When I talk about mistakes, I think about all the mistakes that I personally made in my own journey when I was learning English. I'm still learning English, but what got me here was a lot of mistakes, and I had to embrace them. You need to change your mindset before you start learning, and you need to associate failure and mistakes with a positive emotion. Let me share with you a quick story of what happened to me. Back in the day, I think this was an intermediate mistake. I've made many mistakes as a beginner, but this was an intermediate mistake. I was hanging out with my friends. We were all just having a conversation, and out of nowhere, I was fighting the flu at the time, so I still had a stuffy nose. I wasn't feeling 100%, and I said to them, hey, I'm feeling a little constipated. That's what I said, constipated. And I was thinking of the word constipado in Spanish, which means to have a stuffy nose. But you all know that constipated in English is something completely different. And so sure enough, when I said that, they all started laughing at the same time. They looked at me and they started laughing at the same time. And I didn't understand why. But then after a while I got it. And I was like, I must have said something wrong. So I made a promise to myself to study harder and to learn faster because I felt so embarrassed at the time. But that gave me more motivation to improve. Now that that's out of the way and you know the importance of mindset to learn Spanish, mistakes, how important they are in order to progress and improve, we can start with the first topic for this lesson, which are interrogative questions in Spanish. Words such as what, who, where, when. How do you say all this in Spanish if you're starting a conversation? ¿Quién? Who? ¿Qué? What? ¿Dónde? Where? ¿Cuándo? When? ¿Cómo? How? But if you want to say how much, you say ¿cuánto? Mastering these interrogative questions is really important because if you think about it, when you're traveling, when you're going to new places, you're going to be meeting a lot of people. And because of that, you're going to be asking a lot of questions. You're going to be asking about their names, prices, things that you want to know about the place, the food, the location. In other words, if you're wondering, where do I start? How do I learn how to speak Spanish? Don't worry about everything that comes later. Master these interrogative questions first. So once you've mastered all this, and let's pretend that you already have, and you know what they mean, you know how to use them with sentences to ask questions. Now we can look at some of the main phrases that you need to know when you're interacting with people in Spanish. So phrase number one is ¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas means what is your name? But we're not really asking what is your name. If we were to translate that phrase literally, what we're saying is how are you called yourself? That's why we're saying ¿Cómo? Instead of what. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? How are you? Now, if you want to ask the meaning of something, if you want to know how something is said in Spanish, you would say ¿Cómo se dice? ¿Cómo se dice? Means how do you say? ¿Dónde está el baño? Where is the bathroom? ¿Cuánto cuesta? ¿Cuánto cuesta? How much is it? ¿Cuántos años tienes? ¿Cuántos años tienes means how old are you? For this one, keep in mind that you're asking them how many years do you have? That's why when you respond, you have to say Tengo 39 años. In English, you don't have that. You say I am. You're not saying I have. In Spanish, we have to use have. Tengo, and then your age, 20, 20, 30, 40 años. ¿Quién es? ¿Quién es? Who is it? So this is a quick tip if you want to remember these words better. I would say grab a notepad and start writing down the words that you want to use. And once you have them written down, call your best friend and teach them something. Teach them the words that you just wrote down. Because when you teach, guess what? You learn something twice. Now let's do some other common phrases that you most likely would be using when you're traveling, when you're meeting new people in Spanish. Buenos días. Buenos días means good morning. Buenas tardes. Buenas tardes means good afternoon. Buenas noches. Buenas noches. 2 words. Buenas noches. Good evening. So far we've been looking at questions. We've done questions that you should be asking in Spanish. But how do you answer those questions? So if somebody asked for your name, how would you answer your own name? You would say me llamo and then complete it with your name. Me llamo Daniel. We looked at that question and we agreed that they're not asking what is your name. What they're asking is how are you called yourself? And you have to answer with me llamo. I'm called, right? Me llamo Daniel. When you're meeting new people, you need to know phrases like estoy bien to mean that you're doing well. I'm good, estoy bien. Mucho gusto. Mucho gusto means nice to meet you. Now let's look at sí, the affirmation sí. Sí means yes, but there is another sí that means if. And the way to tell them apart is by looking at the sí with the mark on the I. If you have that, it means the affirmation. But if there is no mark on top of the I, only the dot, then it means if. No. No is the same as in English, it means negation. No. If you're in a crowd or you're just trying to make way to get somewhere, how do you say excuse me? You say con permiso. Con permiso, or you can say perdón, perdón. Now let's do some other basic foundational words that you may already know. Por favor, please. Gracias. Gracias means thank you. De nada, you're welcome. Lo siento. Lo siento means I'm sorry. How do you say there are many in Spanish? We say hay muchos. This is a good one to remember if people ask you, hey, how many people were there in the plaza? You can say, oh, hay muchas personas. And you're saying muchas because you're describing the people. Las personas, so it's a feminine noun. So that's why you say muchas personas instead of muchos personas. No entiendo means I don't understand. No entiendo. I don't understand. Another one you can use is no comprendo, which is basically the same thing. No entiendo, I don't understand. No comprendo, I don't comprehend. If you're really not understanding what they're saying and you want them to slow down, you can say por favor habla más despacio. Please speak slower, más despacio. Por favor, habla más despacio. Please speak slower. See how by learning some of these foundational phrases, you can start putting them together, combining them, and then you can be like, if you're not understanding someone, you can be like, lo siento, no comprendo. Like, I'm sorry, I don't comprehend. Lo siento, no comprendo. ¿Puedes hablar más despacio? Can you speak slower? These are some of the foundational phrases that I've mentioned in the beginning you need to master before learning something else. Without the foundations, there is no real progress. Now you have a better understanding of what the foundations of Spanish are because of this video. But I created a more in detail training and program that will help you master all the foundational topics in Spanish. I'm gonna put the link down in the description section below so you can have access to it, and I hope to see you there. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe, to give this video a like, and I will see you next time. Nos vemos. Hasta pronto.